Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Judson Memorial Church. My name is Reverend Dr. Valerie H. Holly. I am the Associate Minister here, and I welcome you to our service today. And I am so grateful for our people that are here in person, and I want to do a shout out to Reverend Micah Busey. Hello, Reverend Micah Busey. And our Zoom folks that are in Zoom land today. There may be others. I only know that Micah was there because that's what the clergy we all agreed to today. So hi to our Zoom folk, and we're so grateful that you can join us today. Today is celebratory on several levels, and I will say happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth, and something I learned this morning on a sermon that I was listening to. It was given to me, sent to me, and the lady minister said, you know, if you were having, the fact that you have life today, you might want to just say thank you. Just being able to say good morning, grateful to be here today, grateful to be on Zoom, grateful to have a church that allows me to show up in my authentic self. So we're grateful for that. And the first announcement that I'd like to start with, I know the moderator is waiting, is I just want to make sure, for those that don't know, that there was a wedding here yesterday for the person named Andre Daltrey. We all remember Andre. He was our videographer and so many other hats that he held here. He got married yesterday. And so, yes, we're going to give, I think a lot of folks were there for the wedding. And I know that we bless him and Kay today, day after their wedding. I know that they were very excited. And I think, well, I know Micah did the officiating, Reverend Micah. So we wanted to make that announcement. If you have announcements, you know, you come up with your mask. Coffee hour is still outside after service. I guess Keen will give us a little more, the moderator, give me a little more direction. And when you come to speak, take the mask off and project out. Okay, so far it's Keen.
So good morning. I am Keen Berger, she, hers, the moderator. The big announcement is that I have beyond Father's Day and Juneteenth is that there's a congregational meeting at 1 o'clock today, and it is both on Zoom and in person here, so that either way everybody could come. And at that, we are committed to doing hybrid worship, and now we are working to make a very smooth hybrid congregational meeting. So that is the goal. At that meeting, many items, but probably the most interesting to everybody will be the update of the search committee. We also are going to go over our budget for our financial report from 2021. So it's probably about an hour, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, same Zoom as coffee hour, as Zoom coffee hour, and in-person coffee hour out on the street, back in here by 1 o'clock, and in here we will have our congregational meeting. So I appreciate all of you here and all of you on Zoom today. Thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark, pronouns he, him. I am part of the Health and Safety Committee, which helps come up with our policies regarding things like coronavirus. According to the city's metric, we're still within a level of high transmission. So we ask that there be no eating or drinking in the meeting room. If you have something to drink, please, or eat, do it outside. Coffee hour will be outside. We ask that everyone wear either a N95, KN95, or KF94 mask. Make sure you're covering your nose and your mouth. If you don't have one of those masks, on the round table in the back, there's some KN95s like this. If you're wearing a surgical or cloth mask, we ask that you use one of those in the back instead while you're in the room. And so coffee hour will be outside, and if you have something to eat or drink, we ask that you wait to do it after the service. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne?
I'm Suzanne Dickerson, she, her. This is sort of a concern, but I want to say it now so that the people out yonder can hear. Sharon Woolham's, one of our congregants, has to move out of her storage locker. She desperately needs help on the 28th, 29th, and 30th to help pack up a truck. I am leaving town on the 28th. I can't help, but I told her I would make this announcement. So if you want her contact information, please see me afterwards, or you can look on the listserv. There's a message on the listserv. But please help her out. She's really kind of strapped for help. Okay, 28th, 29th, 30th. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, good. Because I'm going to be a little winded long today. Thank you, God. We don't have a lot of announcements. So at this point, I guess we are going right to the prelude. Certainly everyone that's online will know, Reverend Micah will give you the bulletin so you can follow along. And our prelude will be soloist Matt Cleaver, called Hymn to Freedom.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, yeah. There we go. When every heart joins every heart and together yearns for liberty, that's when we'll be free. When every hand joins every hand and together molds our destiny, that's when we'll be free. Any hour, any day, yes, the time soon will come when we will live in dignity, that's when we'll be free. When every voice joins in our song and together singing harmony,
Happy Father's Day, everybody. And welcome back, Matthew, and welcome back, Jane. And Lordy Day, you brought Craig back too, thank God. Welcome to everyone to our service today, which is multi-themed to recognize dads and granddads and about-to-be dads and everybody who is a person who's ever stepped in to father anything. And we recognize that today is the third Sunday in Pride, so I've covered my KN95 mask with a little rainbow. And it's also the moment in which our state and our nation remembers a day in United States history, 157 years ago or so, on June 19th, 1865, when Union General Gordon Granger read what he wrote as General Order Number 3, proclaiming freedom from slavery in Texas. His announcement came 2 months after the end of the United States Civil War and 2 full years after President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. So as we think of Juneteenth today, whose colors are red, white, and blue, so that's why we are themed up here in the Judson Memorial Holy area for speakers and preachers. Let's move into our land acknowledgement and remember June 19th with an insight from Kevin Young, who's the poetry editor of The New Yorker and who serves as the Andrew W. Mellon Director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. Kevin says, history should not just be a record of what happened. It should also be a record of how we remember what happened. So in that spirit of active and accurate remembering, I ask that you center your mind and focus your hearts on our land acknowledgement as we continue our service of worship this morning. Judson Memorial Church recognizes that after centuries of displacement and dispossession, it is a holy and essential practice to recognize the original stewards of the land on which we now live, work, and worship. So I invite you to reflect, to read along silently, or to join in reading aloud as you feel led to do so. It is in our worship bulletins. Judson's physical space stands on the ancestral land of the Lenape people. Our community acknowledges the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations, and we make this acknowledgement as only one part of our work to dismantle the ongoing legacies of Christian supremacy, settler colonialism, and white supremacy. Now may all who are able to please rise for our call to worship, which also is in your worship bulletins. We come to you, O God, to thank you for what is good. We come to you, O God, to ask for help and restoration. We come to you, O God, with aching hearts and glad souls. Let us worship God. Please remain standing for our opening song, What a Friend We Have in Jesus.
Good morning, Judson. My name is Adrian Williams. I'm here to read the ancient testimony. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. And then God answered, write this. Write what you see. Write it out in big block letters so that it can be read on the run. This vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aches for the coming. It can hardly wait, and it doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on its way. It will come right on time. Look at that man, bloated, full of himself, but soul empty. But the person in right standing before God, through loyal and steady believing, is fully alive, really alive. The modern testimony. What is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of the freeing of slaves in the United States and dates back to June 14, 1865. Juneteenth is the day when Union soldiers reached the state of Texas with the good news that the Civil War was finally over. The soldiers showed up in Texas to enforce the new law of emancipation, the law that the slaves were now free. And so then, in answer to the question, what is Juneteenth, we can respond that Juneteenth is a day of delayed celebration and enforcement of a freedom that had in fact already been in place for over 2 years. In other words, Juneteenth points to the fact that liberation and freedom, while already in effect and while already reality, nevertheless remains a project. Written by J. Cameron Carter, African-American lectionary team commentator. Thank you.
That's when we'll be free. My father introduced me to Oscar Peterson, who wrote the melody to Hymn to Freedom that I sang earlier. Harriet Hamilton wrote the lyrics a little after Oscar had written the melody. And my dad introduced me to Oscar Peterson. My dad introduced me to jazz. My dad introduced me to gospel. I love all of those things. I'm very grateful for that education. And my dad could also be a terrible snob, at least when it came to music. I love Celine Dion. I don't know if anyone else here does that. It's Pride. Hello. And when I was a kid and, she'd come on the radio, he would turn it off or he'd turn it to a different channel and we'd all be in the back seat and we'd be like, no, come on, Dad. And he would say, I can't listen to Celine scream on. So the point is, fathers can be great and fathers can be jerks. And that's the sermon. So good night, folks. But today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to those who celebrate. Today is also Juneteenth, a day when we celebrate the coming of the gospel of liberty, the good news of liberty to the enslaved black community of Galveston, Texas, and the hope of liberty for a wider global community of people of color. And I was asked to share some words today about Father's Day, but I did still want to acknowledge that this year we are celebrating both Father's Day and Juneteenth on the same day, and what our celebrations today may jointly teach us. So I'm a naturally angry person, so I will start with the negative similarities. Father's Day often has that commercialized Panglossian whitewash of your father is the best and your best of all possible fathers. Not all fathers were, or are, or even can be the best fathers. Some of us have never met our biological fathers. Some of us have had to distance ourselves from our fathers. Some of us have had to grit our teeth and make do with aspects of our fathers that bring us pain. Some fathers are dead wrong about Celine Dion. And Juneteenth is getting its own whitewash, that whitewash that comes with corporate institutional recognition. The New York State Unified Court System, for instance, recognizes Juneteenth tomorrow as a court holiday. At the same time, this very same unified court system arrests, charges, and prosecutes in a grossly disproportionate manner black people. I am a public defender. Of my 57 clients, 3 are white. This system subjects black families to its family courts at disproportionate rates. This system evicts disproportionate amounts of black people. It's hard not to come to the conclusion that this system generally exists to oppress black and brown communities. But thank goodness that the disproportionately white attorneys get tomorrow off. So, well, now that I've written my letter to the editor, let's flip the coin and find out what is hopeful, what should bring us joy about this joint celebration. And what these days truly have in common are the literally generational questions of legacies, of lessons, how we honor the progress achieved by one generation, how we embody the dreams, how we reimagine the dreams, how we describe dreams that never even seemed possible to our fathers, to our forebears. And these days, met together on this day, implore us to ask these questions, I would say joyfully. So let's talk about legacy. And I'm going to keep it to fathers right now because Reverend Holly is following this with a whole message about Juneteenth. So I grew up in the church from the age of 5 until about 11 every Sunday in the same pew. We were on this side, kind of in the middle, a little towards the back actually. Dollars in the plate, coins in the basket for the hungry children, new clothes on Easter, mom and dad, Mary and Joseph. My brother was Jesus. My sister was Myrrh. I only did the midnight service and I played Salome. My father taught Sunday school. He ran the Vacation Bible School for a few summers. He was an elder for many years. My father was a man of God and a leader in our church. And then very suddenly, we stopped going to church. We stopped talking to those people. I don't totally know why we stopped, and I will tell you my conspiracy theories at Conspiracy Coffee Hour afterwards. But ever after our little schism, my dad would say, there's nothing more political than the church. There is no greater obstacle to a connection with God than the church. I read at like the age of 12, and at his insistence, a syllabus of religious satire. I mean, for one, he made I don't know if he made me read this, but, he did offer at 12 that I should read Voltaire's Candide, which I did. All is for the best in this best of all possible worlds, which, to me, Voltaire, Candide is just really a bad adventure story, at least when I read it then. But my dad was very keen on, we must cultivate our garden. We must cultivate our own garden. And I think to him that precept encapsulated his idea that the only way to live well is to hold community at arm's length. And I don't believe he ever again stepped in a church to worship. He attended our weddings, he went to funerals, he would come see me sing, and he would leave during the benediction. I don't believe my father ever again worshiped in a church. But I do worship in a church. I do. I worship here. And, truth be told, I occasionally find it difficult to worship here. And both the must and the can't are lessons from my father. I love God, and I love searching for godness and goodness in community, specifically in this community. I also recognize the obstacles to that God search and to that good search posed by community. Now, the must and the can't bifurcated my dad's spiritual life almost to the very end. But to me, God and community must be synthesized, because I think God is beautifully and fearfully and beautifully inevitable. And I think community is beautifully and fearfully and beautifully inevitable. My dad died on April 3rd at the too young age of 70 after a very brief bout with cancer. And he was always, even post-schism, a very spiritual man. In those last days, he became even more spiritual. He was grateful for what had passed, and he welcomed what was to come. But what seemed so much more transformative was having 100 different people pass through our tiny little house in Pleasant Plain, Ohio, in the 5 days before he died. His community. To tell him how much he meant to them. Kids he'd taught, baseball players he'd coached, golfers, family members, neighbors, high school friends, old co-workers. To me, it felt like too many people, that they were robbing me of time. And I do think now that that is and was a selfish thought. Because his spirituality allowed him to greet these folks, spend his last moments with them. He got to hear his own legacy from the community he had changed. But he mostly listened to them talk about their lives, and that fed him. And I saw that deepen his spiritual life in those last days and hours and minutes. His spiritual life and his life in community fed each other in those last days. And to me, that was a beautiful, fearful, beautiful lesson. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. These are happy, complicated days. And we grow through this pain, we grow through this remembrance, and we grow through this joy. Amen.
Thank you, Matthew Cleaver, for those words for Father's Day. So, your bulletin says the song Free, Free is going to come up. However, I needed to make a few, before we have the special selection, I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about something else. So, and thank you, Matt, for agreeing to do that. Thank you for singing. Let us pray. Mother, Father, everything, God. Well, God, this is a celebratory day on so many levels. The first one is that we're grateful that you allowed us to be able to be here today, to see it, and to be in community with each other at this time. So right now, God, I ask you to allow Valerie, or Polly, get out the way, and whatever it is you gave me, let me convey it in a way that someone may hear me, wherever they are, Zoom land or right here, or on their way, or maybe even thought that they wanted to be here today. It's all good. Amen. So I want to start with something that happened on Monday, June 13th. On Monday, June 13th, 2022, a 31-year-old female police officer, Ariana Reyes, was stabbed to death by her 34-year-old husband. That was less than a week ago. It's Monday of last week. Later that day, he turned himself in. They have one child, and the child was away visiting people. Now, what has resonated for me is that police officer Ariana Reyes, reminded me of another case of domestic violence, that there are a few people up in here. The guy that came back from Spain will know who this is. And I think Reverend Julie, Keene, there's a bunch of us that would know. The name Hedda Nussbaum came up in my spirit when I heard about the police officer, Ariana Reyes. Now, Hedda Nussbaum was charged in 1987 along with her partner, a living partner, Joel Steinberg, in the murder of an illegally adopted daughter, Lisa, who was 6 years old. On a fall night in 1987, Lisa was found unconscious in their family's Greenwich home, the result of a blow to her head, and later she died. Now, bear with me, I do understand. A child was physically, mentally abused and died in the Hedda Nussbaum case. I am not denying, nor am I minimizing what happened to that beautiful 6-year-old child named Lisa. That was horrible, what happened to that child. There's no question on that. However, it was determined that Hedda was also a victim of domestic violence. There was apparent evidence to show the mental, physical, psychological damage that Hedda Nussbaum endured. In fact, there were pictures. I remember, I guess it was the Post or the Daily News, of Hedda's face that day. Whenever they took the picture. Let me just say this, it was bad. That was some serious beatdown. And Hedda had agreed to testify against Steinberg, and in exchange, the charges against her were dropped. So in 1987 and 1988, there was public fascination with this New York City trial. Apparently, it was the first ever to be on TV. And while there was no doubt about what this man, her living partner, did, it appeared the media's collective attention focused on Hedda. Who took some serious heat. There were questions like, how could a mother allow herself to be in a situation like that? Why didn't she protect Lisa and the baby boy child? There was a baby boy, too, in that house. Hedda, you a book editor, an editor of a book, a publishing company. Why didn't you just leave? You had means. There were some questions on that. And here we are 34 years later. There are some people still feeling that Hedda Nussbaum got away. That she should have been in jail along with Joel Steinberg. Today, Hedda Nussbaum is 75. She has changed her name, and she lives in an undisclosed area in America somewhere. Now, to my younger Judsonites and those who don't know the story, you may want to Google Hedda Nussbaum, just so you can get the full extent of what I'm talking about. But let's turn back to the 21st century. That's 20th century. Let me go back to 21st, to the police officer, Ariana Reyes, that died Monday. Some people may be saying, you know, Police Officer Reyes, you have legal items and options always on you, probably near you. You know the law. You have that blue code, that wall of blue around you, and maybe not. So how come you stayed? How come you, Police Officer Ariana Reyes, with your myriad of options, didn't try to get out of that violent situation? I'm sure there's some people that wonder, well, why were you still there? And let me just add something real quick, since this is LGBTQIA week. We're not unique, we're not exempt from this stuff. In terms of domestic violence, today the word is intimate partner violence. We know there's not much research in this area on the LGBTQIA community. We also know there's a lot of underreporting. Some men don't want to reveal that another man has been using them as a punching bag, and certainly no women want it. Some women don't want to do it either. The other side of that coin is if you are one of those who's brave enough in a same gender loving relationship to go to court, you got to deal with the homophobia. You got to deal with people laughing at you. You got to deal with people wondering, what? You let what happen? And calling you names. You also got to deal with their own disgust. So instead of going through all that, instead of going through the shame, I'm not saying nothing. I'll just endure. So I bring this up, so I just want to say, I bring this up now because I'm someone who grew up in a domestic violent house. Now, I am not the only version of what it looks like. I'm just giving you my version. You see, the first 10 years of my life was mostly filled, not exclusively filled, but mostly filled in a home with lots of that noise. And not against me or my two sisters. I'm the middle child. The violence was always being done to our mother. Now, my mother was not like Hedda Nussbaum. She was not the book editor. She was not like Police Officer Ariana Reyes, the police person. My mother was a stay-at-home mom with 3 girls, one late teen and the other 2 small girls. My older sister was 11 years older than me. My mother, apparently I just lost my page, but in any event, my mother, here we go. When I was 10, my sister, then 21, at that time, convinced my mom, you know, you really need to leave him, Carlton, because this is, you know. Now, mind you, my sister left 3 years earlier. She couldn't handle. She'd come up from the South. She was like, what is going on here? And unfortunately, Lisa and I, if this is Ruth Ann, Lisa and I was cowering behind our bigger sister most of the time. I want you to focus on the word cowering, because it's still something I do. I still cower. And so my mother decided to do that. My sister had gone out, she got married, and she had 2 kids of her own, and you know, she had her own struggles with that. And she said, Ma, she called her mother, Mother, let's just get together. And at 10, mind you, it wasn't my mother's idea, it was my sister's idea to say, you need to get up out of this madness, right? Anyway, let me just quickly give you a little statistic on it. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men 18 and over have been victims of severe physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate personal partner violence. 90% of these children, I'm one of them, witnesses this violence. Victims of domestic violence, we know, are also at higher risk for developing addictions to alcohol and drugs. I remember one of my clients, she'd had about 40 bones in her body broken, and I was talking to her on the phone, and at this point, you know, the husband was not there, and she started drinking NyQuil. And I called the cops. She never forgave me for that. Matter of fact, she came to my office saying, "How dare you?" And I'm like, "Listen, you beaten everywhere, and that's on you, you stay, whatever. But you're drinking NyQuil and you're thinking that there's no reason to live. I'm a social worker, I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm calling Popo." That's it, right? So anyway, but apparently, an average of 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, and stalking in this country. Now, my mother had a Nussbaum, Ariana. Apparently, a whole lot of folks like them endure this horrible type of human-to-human relating. You see, domestic violence and intimate partner violence is not about power or control. It's about power and control, not love. So where's the help? What can be the help? You see, although my mother had married twice, she kind of went from the frying pan to the fire. And, you know, maybe one day we can have that conversation. Yet, she found another man. She got another man. This man called her Ruth. Didn't call her itch with a B. This man, love didn't have nothing to do with a punch. This man that she found allowed her to have peace at night and comfort. Now, in some circles, this man, they call him Wonderful Counselor. This man, they call him Prince of Peace, Everlasting Father. In other places, they call him the Mighty God, you know? My mom called him Jesus. I call him Jesus, too. And when she connected with Jesus, she found peace. When she connected with the one whose love says, "I'll never leave you, nor forsake you," that when I touch you, it means something nice. She found Jesus that said, "I'll be a comfort when the rain is out at night. I'll be a comfort so that when you come home," because she did, you know, she started to work a little bit. She didn't have a lot of skill set. And I know this because I used to see it. She used to come home with her 6-pack of beer and a little pinch bottle of liquor, because she was a young woman with 2 little girls. Ruth Ann was gone at that time. But when she connected with that man, Jesus, her pains stopped. Her worrying about moving out, because we moved a lot, and damn if I don't still have that problem. I'm always moving. But my mother was able to understand that, you know, you can bake and cook, and she was a great cook. As they say in the old church, my mother understood that she was fire-baptized, anointed woman of God, you see. No longer does she have to understand you're less than. No longer do you have to take anybody's sugar honey iced tea. She became evangelist Holly, pouring out pearls of wisdom. You see, because evangelist Holly understood some things. Now, you're going to have some dark days. And by the way, let me just tell you why this showed up today for me. 1, because of what happened on Monday, but 2, because the African-American lectionary that I chose for my research had all this in it. I didn't need to look anything else. I was mesmerized by what they did, because what they did is what I do. I want to talk to the people here. You want to know about Juneteenth, y'all can look that up. But I want to know, what does Habakkuk tell us? And that's what my readings did, about celebrating what it looks like to be free from bondage. I mean, we could talk about slavery, y'all know. We'll do that. Yet, what does it feel like to be free from feeling like you need to be a punching bag to somebody? What does it look like to be free from thinking you have to be a punching bag? You have to punch someone. That's celebratory when you know, wait a minute, as a child of the living God, I walk with royalty. Because God said, I'm all right. And by the way, let me put this in right now, because I don't want nobody to mistake me. Y'all know I'm a social worker. Y'all get it. The grace of God, even if you never leave it, that situation, that grace is still with you. Don't let nobody tell you something wrong with you. Nobody has a right to tell us that. Because if you stay, you stay. And you still are blessed. Don't let no one say, because see, that's also a double way of being a punching bag. You want me beat up if you stay and beat up by the people that tell you to get out? No. No. God's grace allows us to be who we are. That's why it's called a delayed celebration. Because some of us move when we can move, and some of us may not. Okay. So perhaps there's a few of you thinking, Reverend Dr. Valerie Hope Holly, these 10 years of domestic violence you witnessed doesn't look like it personally have damaged you. You know, because in May of 1986, you received a Master's of Science in Social Work. And by the way, in Columbia, they don't call it an MSW. It's a Master of Science in Social Work. So it's called MSSW. So I got that in 1986, May. In November of 1986, I got the New York State certification. In 2003, I was ordained by the Unity Fellowship Church Movement to a reverend title located in Los Angeles. 28 years later, in 2014, I received my Master's of Divinity from New York Theological Seminary, along with the highest award at the school, the President's Award. It is not given out to being the brightest. I mean, I was up there. It's given out because your papers demonstrate that everybody got a place at the table. That's why I got it. It was between me and the NASA physicist engineer that was in my class, who came to me afterwards and said, Valerie, if it wasn't going to me, I wanted it to be you. And I appreciated that. Because they all know some knew I was gay, but they stood up for me when I got it. Because it's all about the readings of the Bible. I'm saying that. And in 2017, I received a doctorate of ministry degree, DMin, also from MIT. So Dr. Holly, you have definitely accomplished a lot. No question, as a child, this situation seems like no trauma, no residue. So perhaps nothing happened to you. Perhaps you don't have any residue. Well, let me share a few things that I do have from those 10 years. And every one of you who are parents, all the daddies and all the mommies, you all already know the most important years in a child is the first 10, or whatever it is. Y'all know that already. The love, all that good stuff, the support, the safety that children need. You already know how real that is and how important it is to have it. And the fact that the two parents, the people going on, you love them both, Yet one is doing some bad things to the other. So you're supposed to go with those feelings, right? So here's what happens to Valerie. So the first thing that happened is that I became an act out in school. Can you picture me an act out? That don't even make sense. I started throwing things around, and now I'm not doing no work. Nobody can come up to see me because they can't. Grades fell. And then I developed stuttering. I stuttered because my reaction to the trauma. And then something called psychogenic amnesia all my psych folks, functional amnesia. It means a person will often suppress memories of a traumatic event until they're ready to handle it, which may never occur. So, for example, in those 10 years, I often thought it was always about furniture. I often thought it was furniture breaking, glass breaking. I have these images of my mother just going to the steps and picking up everything and throwing it down. Those are my images. And my sister, as I said, 11 years older than me, said, one day we were talking briefly, because she doesn't do these conversations. No one in my family did these conversations. That's my social work influence, always talking and therapy stuff. They were like, you know what? Shut up, Valerie. Just leave us alone. But I said to my sister, listen, man, we always had to move and all that furniture breaking. And she said, Valerie, that wasn't furniture that was being broken. That was your mother that was being broken. It wasn't furniture. I don't have any recollection of that. My brain wouldn't let me process that. I just know it was always furniture. I don't know nothing about I can't visualize that. I don't have that, you know? And then, of course, once my sister got that image in her head, this is her thing. Oh, God, I don't want to talk about this. And right away, she'd leave the room. And I'm like, okay, conversation over, right? So, it has nothing to do with education, P.O. Reyes, options, book editor, Hedda Nussbaum, Ruth Holly. Nothing to do with any of that. It's how we think. Zach, I'm ready. Let's go into Free Your Mind. Thank you so much. Juneteenth, in a way, talks about what Habakkuk is saying. It's about a freedom that was delayed, ultimately, but not denied. It's also significant, as my sources were saying on this time, that it's a new birth out of chains of captivity. That's the celebration. A new birth out of chains of domestic violence, possibly a new birth out of chains of addiction. I mean, think about it. What it means to wake up and not need to reach for whatever that is. But wake up and you reach for you. You hug you today. It's a celebration of letting go of bondage, however and whatever that is. Is what my sources were saying. Yes, it's about the slaves, and it is celebratory. All over the city, there's all kinds of celebrations. Yet it was delayed officially. And one writer was saying it has an eschatological piece to it because it's a metaphor of what it means to exist in between freedom now, but not yet all of it. Because you know it's coming. Maybe some of those people, I don't know if my mother ever knew that. I have no idea what she thought. I don't know about P.O., police officer Ariana Reyes, or Hedda Nussbaum. I don't know if they ever thought that madness they were dealing with was eventually going to stop. I'm not sure. Yet, Juneteenth is an opportunity to understand the possibility as a person of faith says, as Habakkuk says, no, God is coming. Your faith has to help you believe the message. It may not be tomorrow, and then again, it may be tomorrow. It may mean a step on your part to change, as Bibi said in his song, our mind first. And have a smile on your face when you are free of how you think. That the only way I can live, or the only way love can be expressed to me intimately, is first I have to be a punching bag. Or first I got to punch somebody. Yet when you go through it with God, then there's no need for a punching bag. When you go through it with Jesus, or God, I call him Jesus, y'all can call it what you want. My faith says, okay, Valerie, I know you don't really know anything about what a good relationship looks like. By the way, straight or gay, and it doesn't matter. It's the same issue. I know you don't really know what that looks like, and I know you think all of them are scary, and I do, because that's all I knew. That's all I know. I mean, that's all I know. So to me, all y'all was scary. Everybody's scary to me, because that's what resonates in my heart for 10 years. And so I have to walk by faith, though. And so when the people told me, when I finally was able to think about going to school and finishing, and my teachers were saying, you know, you really should go on. I'm like, why? For what purpose? Why do I need to do that? I'm not worthy of that. Nobody cares what this woman does. All I know is, so why should I? I don't even want to be dealing with nobody. I love it in my house, because there's peace in my house. Ain't nobody trying to hurt me in my house. Nobody trying to beat me up in my house. And what my mother went through, you know, it's interesting. She found God, and she became a big-time prayer warrior, trust me. She taught me that. I had to call on that this year with some folks that believe in God. I just texted about 5 people, 5 women, and they all said, yep, we're praying, because that's what they do. Their faith, they were faithful believers, because I couldn't handle what was happening. So faith in God can help the now and the not yet. Faith is what Juneteenth is telling us, what Habakkuk is telling us. That is celebrating time. Delayed or not, they won't stop it. It's coming. Amen. All right. So let's take a moment just to breathe. So I'm going to move into the offertory piece. And at this time, the offertory will happen in a minute. And to help us is going to be my my video with a montage by the great Mr. Zach Mosley. Put together a montage on a particular piece. I decided I needed to do something for LGBTQIA month, and I took a piece from my the bishop of my church, my old church, who died in September. Archbishop Carl Devine wrote a song that some of you know by Lady Gaga called "I Was Born This Way." Well, he actually is the originator, and what Zach did, he put some pictures around it. So we're going to hear that. As my, we have offertory people coming now, or yes, come on now. Thank you. So they're going to come, and in a second you're going to see this montage that we did. Mostly Zach did. I gave him the song. I have the permission just for today for this song, because it's a big deal for unity. So we invite you to see it. Zach, I'm ready. I think they're ready.
I'm walking through life in nature's disguise. Yeah. You laugh at me and you criticize. overall plan. Yeah, I've learned to hold my head up high, not scorn nor disgrace, doing my thing individually, twine with this human race. Now I won't just leave, hey, don't you just leave, fear all the way. Nature minister me, I'm happy, I'm carefree, and I'm gay. I was born this way. I'm happy, I'm carefree, and I'm gay. I was born this way.
I'm carefree, I'm gay, I was born this way.
You laugh at me, and you got the nerve to criticize. Yeah, if I were you, I'd sit down and consider what you're doing. Love me like I love you, and together ain't no telling what to do. Yeah, boom, I said one more time, I was born this way. Proud to tell it, proud to tell it. Hey, hey, I was born this way. Run and shout it, tell the world about it. Hey, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Unity Fellowship Church Movement, for letting me be able to honor the Archbishop, the late Archbishop Carl Bean, who coined the phrase, love, God is love, and love is clearly for everyone. Here's the benediction. After the benediction, we will have the closing song of Hold to His Hand, God's unchanging hand. Mother, Father, everything, God, Lord, so much was poured in today, yet you are the author and the finisher of everything. You let us understand that through you and through faith, we can come from situations if our mind changes, if we can trust you, and even if we don't, you don't even care because we're still your children. Allow us to remember that. Can't nobody take us from you, whether we're still in bondage or not. You still love us. Be with us for our meetings today. Be with everyone today. Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth. And thank you, God. Amen. Last song, y'all.